Okay, guys, I got this question, how to deal with time pressure on the GRE from someone in our private Discord group, and I'm just going to kind of go off the top of my head here. There's a lot of things I want to say about this issue because I think we all feel it to a degree. It kind of goes hand in hand with test anxiety, which I've made a video about on my YouTube channel before. But let's just talk about time pressure. The first thing I want to throw out there is a saying that I read in a Navy SEAL book: slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So if you've read my test day tips, you've heard this before. And the way that we go fast is to go slow, basically, is the paradox. So when you're going through the GRE, you want to deliberately go slower than you want to, perhaps, or slower than your nerves are telling you to go, in order to prevent misreadings and to prevent careless mistakes and to prevent the feeling of being flustered. So one way that we can do that upon seeing a new question, what do we do? This is something I like to say a lot to people. New question pops up on the screen. What do we do? Well, the first thing we want to do is close your eyes. This is going to feel weird at first, and take a breath. So this will give you a nice mental reset. It only takes a couple seconds, and believe me, is worth the investment of time. Now we have to open our eyes, read the question. Kind of goes without saying, at some point you have to read the question. And this is where you want to just start to be deliberate and mindful about the way you do things. Read the question. That's your task. When you're finished reading it, move on to the next task. If it's verbal, you are going to now do the question. And if it is math, you are going to think for a few moments. Think, then do. The reason I say that for math is that you want to give yourself the opportunity to notice the big picture, the logic of the question, which will reward you if you do notice that. So just take a few moments before you feel the pressure to start working for a math question. So by cultivating this habit in practice, we really want to kind of make it a habit and be able to execute it on the real test. So I want everybody who I work with to do this. Now let's just think a little bit about practice itself. Number one, like I said, make sure you do the questions this way in practice. But when you're practicing, there's a couple other things I like to tell people to do. One, use 30-minute sessions for verbal, and then 35-minute sessions for quant. You want you to get your brain used to that time increment. After the 30 minutes is over, or 35, take a break, then do another one if you have time that day. This is going to get you used to doing questions in that time frame. Now, at first, you don't want to worry too much about how many questions you got done, because just like the real test, we do want to guess and skip when we get stuck. So let me just give you a little sidebar about this, because this is super important. If you're reading a question, you're not going to know how to do it right away, especially if it's a math question. It's not going to instantly be clear to you, probably. However, if it's not clear what you can do, if you don't have any kind of thing you can do after 20 seconds, you probably want to guess and skip. And if you become stuck at any point during that question after 20 seconds, you want to guess and skip. And I say after 20 seconds because questions are opaque at first for math, and you're not going to look at it and be like, boom, here's the solution. Verbal, kind of the same thing, right? Because you have to kind of parse through a bunch of words and text. But if things aren't happening after 20 seconds, sacrifice the question, just guess and skip, mark it if you want to. We want to get used to that. So back to practice. We want to incorporate this habit in our practice as well. When we're practicing guess and skip if stuck, and really what we want to do is we want to maintain probably about 75% accuracy to prevent bad habits, while gradually increasing the number of questions we get done in a given session. So maybe if you're just new to this, you do a 35-minute quant practice session and you only get 10 questions done. Okay, that's no problem. Just make a note of that on your study tracker and set out to do more next time. Maybe try to bump it up to 11. So by practicing and maintaining accuracy, that's kind of a sacrosanct requirement. We got to be accurate. We don't want to develop sloppy habits. And then gradually try to do more and more and more questions each time. It's not going to be an exact science because questions have varying difficulties. However, it's a good guideline. To make your practice even more realistic for verbal, you want to do verbal. It's going to be 6 text completion, 4 sentence equivalence, and then 10 RC / critical reasoning. Probably about 2 or 3 should be critical reasoning. And then for quant, we want to do, let's just say 9 quantitative comparison, and then 11 just normal multiple choice. Just to, if you're doing a 20 question set, or you're trying to break it down the same way the real test does. So for verbal, again, that's 6 text completion, 4 sentence equivalence, and it goes in this order. It goes TC. Well, I won't spell that out for now. You guys have probably by now seen a practice test, but the important thing is you do that number of each type of question. So dealing with time pressure, one final thing, final note. Obviously, you intellectually realize that this is not making or breaking your life as a whole, right? I hope you don't feel that way. At least, hopefully, logically, you realize there's many options in life, and this particular grad program you're interested in is one of those many options. But the final note is, it's easy enough for me to say that. You might internalize it a little bit. However, it's difficult to internalize. So one thing you can kind of build in is retake option. So if you possibly can, build in enough time to retake the test. You have to wait 21 days before retake. But if you, in the back of your mind, go into the test and you know that you do have a chance to take it again before your applications are due and still get the scores in on time, that does take a little bit of the pressure off. So just a final note, give yourself a plan B. So hopefully some of this advice resonates with you, and I really do hope everybody incorporates my advice for what we do every time we see a new question in practice, as well as the practice sort of section length that we want to do and the conditions under which we want to do those. So hopefully this guys takes a little bit of the pressure off for you guys as you study for the test and actually take it.